from Galilee. A love story by Marjorie Holmes.
Last time we were in the middle of a chapter on Two from Galilee and in the middle of chapter 8, as Mary had found out that she was going to be the mother of the Christ child. The angel had made the announcement to her, and Mary was becoming more and more pregnant as time went on. Finally, her mother figured it out, and when we left, Mary's mother was going to tell her father about the news of the miracle. There are some skeptics along the way, but we'll find out how the family reacts as we continue now in our series of readings, an edited version of the book Two from Galilee, published by Fleming H. Revell Company and written by Marjorie Holmes. Let's listen now to our 11th in a series of readings of Two from Galilee. Hannah, what is it? Come, sit down. He could feel her shaking as he led her into the shade of a fig tree. Are you ill? No, it's Mary. Mary, you must come quickly. The world was rocking. She could scarcely see him. She's the one who's ill, very ill, I'm afraid. What sort of illness? He demanded. A fever? Yes, a fever of the mind. She seems to be possessed. Possessed? Oh, come now, our Mary? He laughed, yet he knew that his wife's terror was real. Get a hold of yourself, Hannah. Tell me, what could make you think this preposterous thing? She's having illusions, fantasies. You remember how she used to have them when she was a child? I punished her for them then. She's too big to be punished for them now. They're lies. Joachim said bluntly, I told you then, and I tell you now, our Mary would never lie. No, you wouldn't believe it. You'd never believe ill of her, she accused. Where Mary's concerned, you'd defend her no matter what. You've always been so blind. Maybe if you'd done your duty as a father to her then, if you'd chastised her, made her realize the sin of falsehood, we wouldn't be facing this madness now. Hannah, madness? Watch your tongue. It's true. Only a mad woman would tell such a story as she's just told me. What story? Now he gripped his wife's shaking shoulders, trying to crush her into some calm. Hannah, now be quiet and tell me, what is this thing she claims? Hannah caught her breath, bit her trembling lips. She gazed for a second over the blurred but shining fields, trying to find and shape the words. She says that she's with child. With child? It was torn from him into a startled cry. His hands dropped. Whose? He demanded. Joseph's? And when she did not speak, I'll kill him. No, that I'd understand, Hannah said. They're in love. It would be an outrage, yes, but it's somewhat natural. That I could bear somehow, but Joachim, listen. Our daughter claims that it's an unnatural child she's going to bear. A holy child. She says an angel came to her and announced it unto her, and that the seed of Yahweh himself has entered her womb. Her voice then dropped to a whisper. Her little eyes, raw with fear, were fixed upon his face. Under its roughness, red from the sun, it was going ashen. His lips moved several times before he could speak. A holy child, he said. No, it cannot be. Slowly, unsteadily, he got to his feet. A holy child! Hannah sprang up too. A new dismay rocked her. Not once had she anticipated this reaction. Romantic though he was beneath his brusque demeanor, mystic, innocent, a dreamer, surely he could not accept this incredible thing. It's blasphemy, she cried. You must come home with me and help me to save her. She trotted frantically along beside him as he went wordlessly to unhitch the ox. Poor child! She began to weep afresh. Poor baby! If she's truly in trouble through a man, we must make her see that we will forgive her, we'll help her, see that no harm comes to her. But if this be blasphemy, then surely God himself will punish her. Blasphemy? Joachim swallowed. The eyes that turned upon her were grave and mystifying, gazing through and beyond her. and Hannah's soul shriveled, for she did not know him any more, this husband whom she had seen so often poring over his scrolls, heard so often discussing it with the more learned ones. She feared for him as she feared for her daughter. "Hannah, have you no faith either in your own child or in your God?" "You can't believe this thing. Surely you can't believe it." "How can I believe anything until I hear what Mary has to say? How can I dare to believe it? I'm dumbfounded, Hannah. I'm as shocked by it as you are. Our daughter. It might even be she." Hannah stared at him. "You're out of your mind to even consider such a thing. You too must be ill." "It's lack of faith in God's word that bespeaks illness, Hannah. Have you never heard the words of the prophets? Even one of them from Samuel's time had predicted the Messiah to be born of a virgin. And when has Israel ever needed a Savior more?" "I don't believe it," Hannah said flatly. She was angry now at her dismay. "No, nor do you, not really. You've been out in the sun too long. Come on in." "The Lord himself promised us that the time would come, and the time is surely upon us. The scholars are convinced of it, all the sages and the seers." "People see what they want to see, Joachim. Please, our daughter's never needed a stronger, straight-thinking father so much as she needs him now. I'm but a woman. Our daughter's in serious trouble, and I can't handle this alone, nor can I handle it sanely if you two are carried away by visions that may only make her worse. Now come, help me, my husband. Please, help me." Her cry broke through his soaring dream. A sound that was human and real, tearing asunder what must surely be only a fantasy of fulfillment, a hope persuaded so passionately and long that it had become a kind of delusion. "I'll try," he said. "I'll try to set aside my own convictions for your sake, and listen without prejudice. Let's go to her now and see. But one thing I know, ill she may be. She may never be evil. Our Mary would not lie." Mary was in the yard as they hastened up the path. She was at the fence, testing some of the clothes, turning them about, the better to receive the sun. She too wore a skimpy wash-day garment, and her feet were bare, and a lock of hair fell into her eyes. She brushed it aside, lifting her face to greet them, and seeing her thus, so young, so normal about this everyday task, Joachim felt both a strange, sharp disappointment and a glorious surge of relief. All was well. All was truly well with his daughter. It was a grave thing to become involved with God, but now he saw that she had been spared. She hadn't been singled out, either for tragedy or an honor so enormous that it was beyond human comprehension. She and her mother must have had one of their differences. That's all it was. And Hannah always reacted in some fashion, a headache, a cleaning spree, or now possibly this fantastic account born surely of misunderstanding. It might even be that Hannah herself was sick. Come into the house. Come out of the sun," Hannah ordered as she made for the door. "I must see about the midday meal. We must talk. We must discuss this thing, but first we must eat," she said incoherently. "The children will be back soon." "They're here," Mary told her. "They came while you were away. They couldn't find the bees." But her mother rushed on in, and she was glad. She was not afraid of her father. She always had had a dumb, consoled, fated feeling that he would believe. But to try to explain again, in the presence of her mother, no, her voice would only shake. Her ability to make it sound credible would be tried all over again. "Mary, what is this thing that your mother tells me?" "It's true, Father. Believe me. You must believe me. If you don't, then surely all is lost." "Come now, come." He led her to the bench under the dry, dusty palm tree. His heart was sore within him at her tone. She seemed so little and so lost, as she had often seemed to him when she turned to him after some bout which Hannah, when she was small. So stricken at having done something, she knew not quite what, to estrange her from her mother. It was all he could do to refrain from putting his arms about her, where she sat huddled into herself on the bench. "Have I ever failed to believe you, little Mary?" "No, but I'm not a little girl any more, Father, and this this that's happened to me is an appalling thing. I'm going to have a baby, Father, but I have not sinned. Joseph and I have not sinned." "It would be no sin," he said almost too quickly, for he must give her that assurance just in case. "It would be a grievous wrong to your mother and me, yes, but no sin in the eyes of God, Mary, since you and Joseph have publicly pledged to each other and are betrothed." "Don't make excuses for me, Father. They're not necessary. That's what I beg you to believe." She turned to him, her face grave. "The prophecies are about to be fulfilled, as you have always said. Father, I am the chosen one. Humble as I am, weak, unworthy, the Lord has chosen me." "Mary, if this be true, and not just another dream, if God has truly deemed that this is the time for him to come, then he has chosen wisely. Surely he could find no purer or lovelier maid in all of Israel." But he broke off, unable to continue. The divine faith that he had sensed even in her infancy, when he had that strong impulse to give her to the temple, her whole childhood, its queenliness, its touch of mystery. "If it be true, Father, if God has deemed this the time?" She gripped his great rough hand. Her eyes were wet. "Father, it is no dream. I am with child, a child that can only be his child since I have known no man." "How do you know?" he said sternly, almost impatiently. "Forgive me, but I am your father, and your mother's right. I've got to deal with this sanely and wisely. I must not let myself be carried away by my own tendency to dream, or my long obsession with the hope of Israel." "God's own angel came to tell me that this would be," Mary said, "and the Holy One invaded my being. How, I just can't say, only I was uplifted." Her voice broke, and through her closed lids the tears glinted. "Maybe somewhere, sometime, there'll be an experience like that for all of us. Maybe the grave is not the end, Father. Maybe we're not doomed to wander through Sheol forever. Maybe one day every human being will know what it's like to be one with God." She paused. There was only the dry clashing of the palms, the sleepy mourning of doves in the nearby meadows. "I cannot tell you how it was," she went on. "I can't even remember clearly, only that it was. It was. And now, since then my very body has begun to change. There are signs, purely human signs. It wouldn't be proper to describe them to you, Father, but I've told Mother what they are, and she even agrees. There can be no doubt. I am to bear a child." "Have you told Joseph?" "No. I've been beside myself wondering what to do. At first I wasn't sure myself. In my amazement I thought perhaps I might be ill, or carried away by the intensity of some childish dream. Then I knew, gradually I knew, and my body began to give proof. Until today I couldn't bring myself to tell Mother, and whenever I think of Joseph, my heart dies." "He loves you. Surely he of all people wouldn't turn against you." In great agitation, Joachim rose. "You must tell him at once. Tell him tonight, if possible. Meanwhile, we must try to think how best to handle this situation." "Then you believe me, Father? You do believe me, Father?" "I have no choice but to believe. Like Joseph, I love you, and without faith, love would be a mockery." And there we end Chapter 8 in our series of readings from the book Two from Galilee. Next time we'll find out what happens when Joseph learns of the news, as we continue Two from Galilee.